He's hiding a deadly secret. The apartment across the hall summary. The chipped paint on the hallway walls of my new apartment building in New York City felt like a personal affront. Pre-war charm, the realtor had called it. I called it a barely disguised financial desperation. Still, after everything, I was grateful for a roof, even one that leaked metaphors for my life. I was Salem Ripley, and 3B was my new battleground, a far cry from the gleaming promises of online listings. But then again, what in my life hadn't been a departure from expectations lately? The saving grace, I supposed, came in the form of a neighbour, the kind you only see in rom-coms, the tall, dark, brooding type who could probably brood competitively. He lived in 3A, right across the hall, and even on the briefest encounters, he possessed an undeniably magnetic presence. Then, one day, I saw her. A woman, stunningly beautiful, draped on his arm as they exited the building. They looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine shoot, all effortless style and radiant smiles. I couldn't help but feel a pang of something. Envy. Maybe a little bit of wistful longing for a life that felt equally effortless. I started to notice things, small things at first. The rhythm of life in 3A seemed off. He would leave for work early, always impeccably dressed. But then the women started appearing. Different women. All beautiful. All entering 3A. But never ever leaving. The first time it happened, I chalked it up to a late-night rendezvous. New York, right? Happens all the time. But then it happened again. And again. Each woman distinct. Each vanishing into the depths of apartment 3A, as if swallowed whole. I knew it was none of my business. My life was complicated enough without adding nosy neighbour to the resume. Besides, who was I to judge? I was barely holding it together myself. But the uneasiness persisted, a constant thrum beneath the surface of my everyday life. It started small, an anxious feeling that something wasn't right. Then it grew into a full-blown sense of dread, the kind that chills you from the inside out and leaves you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., replaying every odd encounter, every fleeting glimpse. He seemed so normal, charming even. We'd exchange polite nods in the hallway, the occasional brief conversation about the building's temperamental elevator or the incessant construction noise. But those interactions only amplified the dissonance. How could someone so seemingly ordinary be harboring such a secret? The weight of my suspicion became unbearable. The silence from across the hall was deafening, filled with unspoken questions and growing fears. I tried to rationalize it, to convince myself I was being paranoid, projecting my own anxieties onto an innocent situation. But the images of those women disappearing into apartment 3A haunted me. I found myself drawn to the window, curtains slightly ajar, desperately hoping for a glimpse, a clue, anything to dispel the unsettling feeling that something terrible was unfolding just a few feet away. The fear was a tangible presence, a cold hand gripping my heart. I knew I shouldn't get involved. My past screamed at me to stay put, to keep my head down, to avoid any unnecessary entanglements. But as the days turned into weeks and the women continued to vanish, I realized I couldn't ignore it any longer. Some things are just too monstrous to be ignored, too deeply wrong to be overlooked. I had no idea what was going on in apartment 3A. I only knew that whatever it was, it felt wrong, and that if I didn't do something, someone could get hurt, maybe even killed. The chipped paint in the hallway suddenly seemed less daunting. It wasn't just a sign of my financial limitations, but a reminder that even in the darkest corners of a city, even in the most unassuming of apartments, secrets could fester and lives could be at stake. So, I made a choice. A dangerous, perhaps foolish choice. I was going to find out what was happening in the apartment across the hall. I had to. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more book summaries and insights. Feel free to check out another video or dive into the full playlist you see now for more great book summaries. Click now and keep exploring.